Good morning, happy Tuesday, guys. It's December 15th. So in 1791, this day, 1791, the first amendments to the Constitution were ratified, and that is the first 10. They were called the Bill of Rights, and that's what today is. It's the Bill of Rights Day. It's to kind of remember and look back on those 10 amendments. The Bill of Rights, they are our rights, and that's why they were put into the Constitution. So the first one has 5 rights associated to it. So it is the freedom of speech, the freedom of press, the freedom of religion, the freedom of assembly, and this one is the freedom to petition the government. So we have the right to go up to the government and be like, y'all don't know what y'all doing. Y'all are doing something wrong. And without those rights, you can see how in the future we get into some sticky situations, because we wouldn't be able to fix anything that goes wrong, because of course the government is a constant growing machine. There's constantly laws being added and changed, and that all has to do with our judicial system and how it operates. So it's a constant growing machine, and sometimes it'll grow out of hand depending on what's going on. So this kind of gives it a counterbalance, so to speak. So and then it allows us to speak out and say something when we believe it is going wrong. So the First Amendment is definitely a very important amendment. I'm very proud of it. I like having the freedom of speech because I would be in trouble if I didn't. So amendment number 2, very, very popular amendment. It's been in the fire, so to speak. It's been in the limelight for a while, going back and forth, especially since when these shootings happen, people want to break the Second Amendment, but then people fire back and say it's important. The right to bear arms, number 2. Number 3 is kind of one that's not necessary anymore, really. I don't know if it's necessary. I can't imagine it being done in modern day anymore, but it is to protect against housing soldiers. So this was a big deal right before the revolution, because the British had war with the Indians and the French, and they would ship the soldiers over, and instead of building barracks and temporary housing for them, they would just force the citizens in America to house them, and they would just kind of take over and not be the best, mates or roommates. So that was a big deal back then, but of course, since we've had this, we've never had the problem with it, and I can't imagine it being a problem because we have so much infrastructure now. Back then it was limited, so a little different, but it's still amendment number 3. This is like a tongue twister. Amendment number 4 is unreasonable search and siege. It protects your house. It also protects against them giving out warrants without probable cause. So that's an important one. It makes you feel safe, and that you're not going to get picked on by a law enforcement officer or sheriff that doesn't like you. Most of the rest of the amendments are actually to protect you against being picked on once you've been picked up. It prevents them from having too much power, because the next one is all about trials. Protects you against double jeopardy, protects about self-incrimination, property and seizure, that kind of thing. So it actually protects criminals, but it's protecting you because you could actually be innocent and they could be planting stuff, or they could just want to find a way to keep you in jail, and it's trying to go about making sure that it is as fair as possible and that you are not being dealt a poor hand just because someone dislikes you, which is fantastic. Number 6 is a right to a speedy trial. You have to be informed of your charges. You have to be confronted by their witnesses, and you have to have the ability to call your own witness, and you have the right to legal counsel. Just ensures that the trial is fair and that you have every ability to, what's the word? I don't know, to fight back, to make sure your story is heard. And then, of course, number 7 is trial by jury. You have the right to have the jury, which is fantastic, because if it was just being presented in front of a judge can have an opinion, and it would really stink if that judge didn't like you. So having a jury there, and them being a random jury, makes it as fair as possible. Number 8 is protect against unusual bail, fines, and cruel and unusual punishments. So it protects you while you are in jail. Another one. It's actually really important. I've never been to jail, but I can imagine, I've seen those movies, and I wish I could just throw a movie out there for you, but I don't remember. But there are those movies where somebody comes back from war or something, and then they get in a kind of like a spitting match with the local sheriff, and then the local sheriff, of course, has a poker game with the local judge. And so they end up taking that guy, planting something on him, and putting him in jail, and then keeping him there and doing all kinds of horrible things to him, because they have every right. Once they're able to give him the slightest charge, they can just amp it up while he's in the system, and no one has the power to do anything to him. Of course, these the Bill of Rights protects against that happening. So once you go up to the higher court, national court, and you shed some light and give some proof of what's going on, they don't actually have the right to do that, and then they're freed. If you guys can think of a name of a movie, I think it was their kid. It's the Tank movie. I'm thinking of the Tank movie, where he goes and he drives his tank. He owns his own tank, and he drives it into the compound where they keep their the prisoners. Okay, well, if you guys can remember it, put it down in the comments below, because I cannot remember it. But that is the movie that I'm thinking of, because the sheriff was like really mad at the person who came back, and that whole thing. Anyways, number 9, rights shall not infringe on other rights. This one's important for future lawmaking, because it ensures that if, no matter what you end up doing later on and try to change the law this way and that way, you cannot step on a previous right. And that is huge with amendment number 2, because the right to bear arms really holds us back from preventing people from buying weapons. But at the same time, we're trying to restrict it as much as possible. So it gives a big balance to what we're able to restrict versus what we're not allowed to restrict, because we're trying to fix the problem as much as possible without stepping on that amendment, which is pretty bold, simple, and you can interpolate it to mean a lot more than it is, or a lot less, and it's all based off people's opinions. When you leave it up to interpolation, it's not very specific, and we're glad actually that it's not specific, because back in the day, they didn't have nearly as many types of guns, types of weapons as we do today. So if they were very specific, then we could outlaw all modern day weaponry. You're only allowed to have a musket. And that would be awkward. So, amendment number 10 is powers not granted in the Constitution to the federal government shall remain in the jurisdiction of the states or the people themselves. And this limits the power of the federal government, and it prevents them from just taking on additional powers that they feel like taking on, and their only jurisdiction is named out and spelled out in the Constitution. So it is Bill of Rights Day, so I thought I'd give you guys a little rundown of the Bill of Rights, and those are the 10 amendments. It's also Cupcake Day, or more specifically, Lemon Cupcake Day, which sounds really yummy, actually. So, do you like the dry, cakey, or fluffy, cakey cupcakes, or do you prefer them a little bit more on the fudgy side? I prefer my cupcakes and my brownies to be fudgy, like moist, really, really moist. So, I don't know, I might pick up, there's these cupcakes that have like the cream cheese filling inside of them. I might go and pick me one up today just because it's Cupcake Day. It's also Wear Your Pearls Day, so I wore my black pearls in honor of Wear Your Pearls Day. And it's International Tea Day. I'm sorry, I'm drinking coffee. I don't do tea. I mean, I'll do a chai tea, like a warm, very creamy and sweet chai tea. But regular tea, I like the smell of it, but I do not like the taste. Sorry. So, if you do like tea, though, make sure you drink it because it's International Tea Day, and why not? Oh, and I did look up a very interesting fact. So, the first recorded mention of tea was with the Chinese in 350 AD. And I was blown away by this because I thought tea was like as old as time. I thought it would have been in before, like, BC era, like even 1000 BC, like, but no, the first mention of it was in China, 350 AD. So I thought that was fantastic. Really mind-blowing to me. It's also, this one's interesting, National Cat Herding Day. And it's not actually about cats, although sure, you can make it about cats and love your cat a little extra today, but it is actually in recognition of people who manage other people. And there was I think it came up in the 80s. It was coined in the 80s. And then they had a Super Bowl commercial in 2000 about it, managing people. And it's like, you know, like you're really stressed and people are doing what they want to do and doing their own thing, and it's all chaotic and crazy, and it's like herding cats. And that's where that saying comes from. So today is about management who manages other people and the chaos that ensues. So that's what it's about. So appreciate your management. It's not always a very easy job. And today's Tuesday, guys, and it is the week before Christmas. So take care, be safe, and I love y'all. See you tomorrow.